physician. He's a fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh and certified in plant-based nutrition from 𝐸. He is co-founder and medical director of HOPE, MedFlight Asia, that does medevac services. Charles believes in plant-based eating as a means of achieving optimal health, reversing chronic illness, and being kind to the planet and the animals we share the earth with. He also sees great potential in plant-based foods as a means of achieving food security without compromising on taste or nutritional value. Above all, it's about kindness and compassion, and I'm very, very proud to have Charles here to speak to us. He's been a beacon of compassion, and also he's opened our perspective on life when I was very young in emergency. So thank you, Charles. All yours. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thanks, Kim. Kim and I go back the year 2000. We used to work together in the then Alexandra Hospital A&E department, and we worked together through SARS, and then we lost. I think we sort of drifted our separate ways for many years. Oh, okay. It's okay. And then we shifted, and then she contacted me 1 month ago. I said, "Wow!" And this is actually, and she convinced me to share my journey. This is the first time I'm giving a public talk on something I've learned recently, and I feel that I'll try to share as best I can. I hope to keep it open conversation. I'll try to keep it short, and I'm happy to discuss using what experiences you have, I have, and at the end of today, I hope we'll have a kinder world. Yeah. Okay. So just a little bit before we go, I say during this talk, some of the pictures may be a little distressing. Just remember that the focus of this talk, just a simple mantra to know, is less pain, more love. And that's the context of this talk. No matter what you see, no matter what I may say, it's about less pain to yourself, less pain to the planet, less pain to other sentient beings, and more love to yourself, more love to other sentient beings, and more love to the planet we share. Okay? So, we all have grown up with these happy memories of what farms are. Some of us has been on farm stays. Our children's books, or the happy cows with the happy pigs and happy horses, and they all live together on farms. And we tell our children, this is where your food comes from. They're all very happy. Till the day they die, they're very happy. These are pictures we often see on the media. We aspire to go visit these farms up in the mountains. We pay money to visit them. They teach us how to, milk cows. Farmers are kind and loving towards their animals. Okay, you can hug a chicken today because that chicken may not be there tomorrow. Okay, Okay, we teach our children that, this is, the disconnect. Okay. Pigs are happy. They lead a wonderful life. Okay. We also talk about food. Okay. We talk about wholesome eating, balanced diet. All these farms provide us with this wonderful food to eat. If you search out for healthy eating, there's this thing called healthy plate, and notice 1/4 of this plate is meat and others, and this is what we've grown up, including me, what we've grown up to believe, a healthy, balanced diet, that is provided for by this wonderful agricultural system that exists on planet Earth. Drink your milk because you're a growing child. Drink your milk because you want to avoid bone problems, joint pains, and fractures. in old age, okay? You know, children are growing, so, you know, let them eat what they want, let them, feasting is part of growing up. Once again, you know, pictures of, traditional food. This is our, what we say, this food is our, I think there's a debate now in Singapore that Singapore chicken rice is a UNESCO World Heritage food. But it's, food. This is a traditional Singapore breakfast. Then we say, oh, this is wholesome and healthy. Okay, so maybe I'm here to dispel these rumors or dispel these things or start a healthy discussion. Okay, so nowadays everybody gets into it, even fast food. Fast food suddenly became healthy. Look here, they'll tell you, in this, you bring your children out for it's called Happy Meal, right? So you've got fruit juice, you've got fruits, you've got protein, and you've got vegetables in the form of French fries. Okay, in the U.S. there was a survey on children asking them what their favorite vegetable was. 75% replied French fries. Okay, so there's this connection between farm and table, and the reality is beautiful. But is this really the reality? Okay. So the truth is kind of painful. Okay, we are sitting on the worst pandemic globally of obesity, of chronic illness that humanity has ever faced. Okay. We used to be a population that for hundreds of thousands of years, it was about having enough to eat. Within one generation, it is about having too much to eat and the wrong things to eat. Okay, we have 1 million children, 1 million people in Singapore who have a high BMI or are obese, and obesity by itself, remember, is not your problem. The problem is the obesity is a marker of health. Your aim always is to be healthy, and when you are healthy, your body knows what size to come into. Okay. We also know, we don't read, but we know. Okay, this is from just simple. If you do a simple search, you'll find this: white meat or red meat, or will I add to that fish meat or chicken meat or pork meat? They are all equally bad for you. We know that for a fact. Okay, we know that avoiding meat and dairy is the single biggest way you can reduce your carbon footprint, more so than driving, more so than flying. Okay, it is actually just to eat the right way. And we knew this. On the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a New York Times article, Cancer Increasing Among Meat Eaters. This article was published on the front page of the New York Times in 1907. Okay, 115 years ago. We knew this, and we continue to know this, but there is a dyssynchrony between what is known and what we act upon. We have all-time highs in terms of the health challenges as a physician we face. We have all-time high rates of cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, dementia, among young people, mental health issues, autoimmune disease. Collectively, these diseases are known as non-communicable diseases. That means they're diseases not caused by germs. They're diseases that are caused by environmental factors and lifestyle. Okay, we will often hear this thing, in the past, and as doctors, we're guilty of this ourselves. You go to hospital, if you have, say, chest pain or you have diabetes, what do they ask you? Does your mother and father or brother and sister have the same disease, right? Then you say, yes, my father has heart disease also, my father has diabetes. Oh, yes, you got the gene for it. Too bad, now this is the medicine you have to take. So these are misguided truths that even many physicians hold. The reality is that you don't inherit bad genes. Evolution, be it evolution or be it creation, we don't get bad genes. Evolution says it's survival of the fittest. We are humans who have gone through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. We have come from millions of years from a single cell. So we are actually survivors. So what happens is that for every a bad gene represents a bad environment. Okay, so we don't inherit a bad gene. We inherit an environment that is toxic, lifestyle choices that are toxic. And this gets us where we are. So if mom and dad have diabetes, and you grow up eating the same thing mom and dad eat, you create an environment where you are prone to diabetes. It is not the gene. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars searching for the magic gene for diabetes, for heart disease, thinking that one day we will, we'll fix the gene and cure it. We are nowhere nearer finding that. We do not have a gene for it. We only have an environment for it. Okay, so that's actually a message of hope that it is controllable. You do not suffer. You do not inherit the fate of your family. It is within your hands. Okay? This is the state of Earth at the moment. This is the mass of mammals that live on Earth. And the red is actually domestic livestock. If you notice, 3/4 of the mass of animals on Earth are actually just there for 5%, for 1/4 of people to eat. And in this day and age, in terms of biodiversity, only about 5% of the entire Earth's mass of animals are actually wild and free animals. And this has all been created within the past 2 to 3 generations. Okay. The number one cause of rainforest destruction on Earth is not timber. It is not cutting down trees for fuel. It is cutting down trees and destroying forests for farming, for cattle farming, for pig farming. The number one, 80% of all the Amazon rainforest destruction is to fuel commercial cattle farming to supply this great demand for beef, cheap beef around the world. 3/4 of all global fresh water is used in agriculture. And incidentally, another way to look at it is that the water footprint of animals, if you see that word water there, the water footprint of animals, the requirement is usually between 10 to 100 times that of planting plants. That means, on average right here, to have 1 kilo of beef, you need to use 15,000 liters of water. I say again, to eat 1 kilo of beef, you have used up 15,000 liters of fresh water. Okay. 80%, sorry, what's this number? Okay, later, I remember. So the impact, another way to look at it is your carbon footprint, which we all talk about how best to decrease our carbon footprint. And on this table from the United Nations, it is very clear that if you use plant-based food, you effectively decrease your carbon footprint by between 10 to 500 times. Okay? So what are farms actually like? We saw the pictures, let's see the reality. This is most likely where your chickens come from. Factory chicken farms, each farm has between 100 to 200,000 chickens. From the day they are born, these chickens will never see the sun. They will never know what it's like to have family. They will never know what it's like to have chicks. Okay? They will die in childhood. Okay? Because what it is that the aim of chicken farming is to grow that chicken to market size as fast as possible. Once it hits market size, which is about puberty for chicken, teenage age years for chicken, that means about 6 weeks old, 6 to 8 weeks old, I think, they are slaughtered because anything else is not commercially viable. Okay? But in a way that puts the chicken out of its misery. Yeah. Every chicken that you eat goes through a process called debeaking because the chickens live in this they are forced to live in terrible, overcrowded conditions. They suffer psychological problems. They tend to peck each other, which causes wound infections. So what happens is a machine that uses a red-hot blade will cut off half the beak of a chicken, so they effectively cannot peck another chicken. But the beak of a chicken has as much nerves as your lips and tongues do, because that's what the beak is for. Does a chicken not feel pain? This is a pig farm. And this is how pigs live. They do not have room to turn around. They do not have room to socialize. They spend their entire lives in these type of farms until they are brought to market. These are mega pig farms. And if you read, to supply the ever-burgeoning desire for pork, we have this we are now building multi-story pig farms. Okay? Yes? No, Singapore has no more pig farms. Yeah. So our pigs in Singapore come from Malaysia, Australia, Thailand, maybe China. But they're all the same. This type of animal operations is the industrial term is called CAFO, C-A-F-O, commercial animal farming operations or commercial animal feeding operations. And there's a textbook, and there are textbooks for it, and this is what this is what is done across the world. There is no exception to this. Sorry. These are cows. These are cows that produce milk. So once again, we go to these farms, let's teach you how to milk a cow, right? The reality is that cows have to produce something like 16 liters of milk a day. When does a cow produce milk? When it's feeding a baby, right? A cow doesn't produce milk otherwise. So what happens is that cows are artificially impregnated. The process of impregnation of a cow is to take the semen of a male cow, and he puts in his fist, and he puts his fist into inseminates the female cow, which is tied down. And we sometimes say when a woman says no, it means no, right? This cow says no. The cow is artificially inseminated through a very brutal process. A cow's pregnancy lasts 9 months, the same as a human. At the end of 9 months, the calf is born. The mother will be given about 1 day to nurse the calf, to start the process of milk flowing. This calf is then taken away from the mother. You can look on YouTube, you'll see videos of calves being taken away from mothers. The mother cow will spend the next 1 to 2 weeks grieving and crying. She will refuse food. She will plead for her baby. The baby is taken away. If it is female, it may be bred again to go through that same process mom has gone through. If it's male, it is killed and sold as veal, premium beef, expensive beef. Okay? And then once the mother has overcome her grief, often with the use of antidepressants that are put in the feed, the milking starts. And this cow can usually continue being milked for another 9 months or so, which is the length until a baby cow will start to actually eat grass and everything. And then once the milk dries up, the process starts all over again. And this continues year after year after year, until this cow is considered no longer viable, the milk production drops, the cow then becomes a hamburger. Okay. So this is what your milk is. Because the process of mechanical extraction of milk to maximize the milk output is not done by hand. It is done by machines. And the machines cause a lot of abrasions and pain. So the infection of udders, the udder of the cow, the infection is actually very, very common. 30 to 50% of all dairy cows have udder infections. So 30 to 50% of dairy cows are on antibiotics at any one time. And if you look at the industrially into the definition of milk, do you know that milk can contain up to 5% pus cells? To be approved for human consumption, I say again, milk can contain about 5% pus cells, because these are the cells of the infected udders. You can't stop it's too commercially viable. And that is why milk has to go through pasteurization and all to make it humanly edible, because you are drinking potentially 5% pus. Okay? Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, my question is that you mentioned that the milk portion, right? Is it really good or is it not?
Okay, well, cow's milk is a great source of calcium for baby cows. Later, I will explain to you, and the health part of it, later we'll talk about. It's an interesting question, we'll hold it, and then once we talk about the health part, I'll explain to you how cow's milk doesn't really gel that well with humans. Okay? Okay, and well, this is another picture of what actually goes on in an abattoir. Someone once said, if abattoirs have glass walls, 99% of the world will become vegetarian or vegan. Okay. Do you know where the Singapore abattoir is? Do you know there are no signs outside the Singapore abattoir? You go on Google Maps and you put Jurong Abattoir, and then you'll find it. It's at the end of Jurong Fishing Port Road. I randomly happened to walk across because I was going to a fishing boat not to fish, I was going to a fishing boat to treat someone. And that's another story in itself. But I walked past the abattoir. The abattoir has high walls. There are no signs outside that says this is Jurong Abattoir run by Singapore Food Agency. It has high walls. It looks like a prison. It looks, there are no windows, absolutely no windows, and there are just trucks going in and out. And once in a while, a truck will come out with a horrible stench. And then it is brought down to a barge area, and these are the carcasses or the unused parts of the animals, which have started to rot. It's a real horrible, and it's brought down to near the Jurong River. And if there's a bridge over the Jurong River, you can actually, I went cycling, you can cycle at the top of the bridge, and you can see them, they load barges with these waste products, and then they send these barges off either to the landfill or maybe for incineration. And these barges have blood dripping all over the floor. You can see, just go cycling on a Sunday morning, cross the Jurong River and look out. Okay, so this is the last thing a cow or a pig will probably see before it ends its very sad life. This is called the killing chamber. Okay, what happens is, because a cow, they're in a queue to be killed, so they communicate with each other. They are sentient beings. They are aware. They tell something bad is about to happen. They sense it, they smell it, they feel it. So they're forced into this chamber where they cannot struggle, where they cannot move. And then if you see up there the man holding, that is a bolt gun. What happens is that he will aim that bolt gun at the brain stem of the cow, and he will shoot. And that effectively ends a very sad life for that cow. And this is considered humane killing. This is the most humane way to kill that cow, because what we say is it's a fast death. And if I noticed, this is something I noticed myself. I was watching these videos on YouTube, and I noticed this cow will bleed and struggle and cry. And then just a few seconds, you can watch for yourself, just a few seconds before it is killed, it suddenly makes its peace. There is this quietness. It stops struggling. Just before it is killed, before it is shot, it will stop struggling for these few seconds, like it has finally realized that it is okay, and then it is killed. Okay. These were pictures secretly taken of an abattoir in Thailand. Okay, this is a government abattoir, a government licensed export abattoir. The pictures created an uproar. Okay, they did not want these pictures published. They were not published in the Singapore media, but this is potentially the pork that we eat. Okay, when there's a great demand for pork, like Chinese New Year coming or whatever, they cannot kill fast enough by the quick kill method. So this is another method to kill. And these are your end results before what you see on the supermarket shelves. A mother pig in the wild builds a nest for her babies, sings to them as she nurses them, and gives them kisses as they are drinking their milk. So until we realize, appreciate, and respect this very thin and fine line that separates us from all other sentient beings, that is so thin and so fine, harmony and coexistence will always be threatened by suffering and extinction. So these mammals like pigs, sheep, and cows, they sing and cuddle their babies while feeding. They feel as much terror and pain as any one of us. Pigs are actually very clean animals. They do not like to live in a pigsty. They like to keep themselves clean. Pigs and cows, they engage in games, they play, and they teach their young ones. They are no less intelligent than your pet dog. Chickens live with deep family bonds. Nowadays, we see these wild feral chickens running around the neighborhood, and they're so lovely and everything. These are the same chickens that we'll see on our plate at night, right? So chickens play games. They have complex brain structure. Fun fact, do you know that per volume, per cubic centimeter of brain, there are more neuronal connections in a bird than there are in a human brain. That's the complexity of the brain. So when we say bird brain, we are actually closer to them than we thought. Okay? And chickens suffer very, very deeply at human hands. Okay? Later I'll tell you the horrors of egg farming. Then we say, oh, never mind, I'll be pescatarian, there's fish. Don't fish feel pain? How are fish hooked up? The nerve endings in the lips or jaws of a fish are the same nerve pain fibers that we find in humans, that we find in ourselves. When a fish is out of water, it's basically drowning in air. Okay? And we say fishing is a sport. I have a close relationship with the fishing industry. By virtue of when COVID started, I'll just share a short story. When COVID started, all countries will close their borders, right? So I don't eat fish. But what happens was that there are fishermen at sea, which when a fisherman, say, gets sick, they have to go to a country to seek medical treatment. And every country's border was closed. So I helped the volunteer to do this service where we'll take boats and go out to the open sea, and we meet the ships are not just fishing boats and everything, but what really open was the fishing boats. But we'd go out to sea, and then we climb aboard the ship, and we treat these sailors, because they cannot come to shore anywhere. They say, oh, border is closed, right? And I realized the fishing industry is not just about suffering of fishers. I have never seen in this modern day and age, myself, such horrible living conditions, such lowly paid workers. The fishing industry is slavery for fishermen too. These fishing boats, deep sea fishing boats, they supply mainly they are tuna fishing boats because there's a global demand, great demand for tuna. You know your sashimi grade tuna, right? And it looks so nice and great. It is built on pain and suffering and almost criminal activity. Many of these fishermen are undocumented. They are slave labor. They come from Myanmar. They come from places like Sierra Leone, okay? They are usually 15, 16-year-old children who under-declare their age to 18, who have no passports, who pay middlemen to put them on a boat, to stay on this boat for between 4 to 5 years. When they're on the boat, they do not come down for 4 to 5 years. They fish every single day, 365 days a year, for 4 to 5 years, for about $50 to $100 US every month. If they're in open sea and they die because they're undocumented, and other than their mothers and fathers who know they exist, but there is no way to communicate. On these boats, there is no internet, there is no phone, there is no comms anywhere. If they die, they're thrown overboard. And they never existed on Earth. And this feeds the tuna industry. And when I went on these ships, I asked, can I go down and see what it's like in the hole where the people live? And these are photos I've taken. If you see there, in the size of a HDB, a toilet, bathroom, there will be about 4 people living. They live under the decks. In the daytime, this is converted to work area where they cut the fish up and scale and degut the fish, At night, they sleep there. Their food is canned food and whatever is supplied, what they call the motherships. And they live like this for 4 to 5 years. I've never honestly seen such bad living or human living conditions as on fishing boats. And then these motherships will come and they will take the tuna from the fishing boat and they give the fishing boat food and oil and water, and the fishing boat continues fishing. And the tuna, because tuna is so hard to find nowadays, all the local waters, say around Japan or China, no more tuna. So to get tuna, you have to enter deep international waters. So these boats will have to go to the Pacific Ocean, Middle Pacific Ocean, or the Southern Indian Ocean near Antarctica and all. And this is where they fish. And what happens is they use satellite technology and they find schools. And tuna lives in multi-generational schools of fish. Their ecosystems, so among the tuna will be dolphins, will be sea turtles. They all live together. It's an ecosystem, thousands of fish. And these tuna, they're the top of the food chain. So they actually live, if they don't, their life expectancy is 70, 80 years old. These big tuna that you see, they are sold for thousands of dollars. They live 70, 80 years old. So when the satellite identifies the tuna, what they do is that hundreds of fishing boats will go after this fleet of tuna, these schools of tuna, and they will start fishing and catching until there is no more tuna left, because there is not enough tuna in the world, and the fishermen, the captains of the ship are paid on a commission basis. You don't get paid if you got no fish. And one of the captains told me, he was sitting down with me and he was talking over tea, and he says, do you know, Charles, when I die, I will burn in hell for generations to generations because of all the cruelty I have seen and I have inflicted in the name of earning my livelihood. I would prefer my children have no job to do than to enter this industry. Okay. when they catch fish, 60 to 70% of the fish is what is called bycatch. So they have these nets. So when the authorities check, they have nets with big holes so the baby fish can swim through. But baby fish is money. When they go out to sea, they use nets with tiny holes. These nets are 4 to 5 kilometers. These trawling nets are 4 to 5 kilometers in diameter. And they catch everything that is there. Of 70% of which is what is called bycatch. It's octopus, it is turtles, it is dolphins, it is whales, it is sharks. None of this has monetary value. So what they do is they throw it away. It is all dead. Because the turtles get stuck in the net, they struggle. And because the holes are small, they catch all the baby tuna. So there is no regeneration of the tuna, of tuna fish. And what happens to the baby tuna? It is illegal under international fishing laws to catch baby tuna. So what do they do with it on this? They call these mother ships or factory ships. They chop it up and they make it canned tuna, skipjack. And it's labeled dolphin-friendly tuna. Okay, so that is the real, and that I saw myself and I was like, well, it's just, sometimes the reality is so different from what it is. So these are pictures that I actually took myself. Okay, this is at Jurong Fishing Port. We've just recovered from a COVID-19 pandemic. If you look back in history, every single pandemic in the written history of civilization is related to man's desire to eat meat. The Spanish flu of 1918 to 1920, which killed more people than World War I did, had nothing to do with Spain. It was from infected pigs on a Kansas pig farm that spread to humans, because the pigs live in unsanitary and congested conditions, and the humans were cruel to them. Tuberculosis is thought of as, is probably genetically a cow disease, so only with commercial only with farming of cows did tuberculosis come about. Okay, SARS was from humans who wanted to eat civet cats. COVID is probably from bats. So every single pandemic, and that is why when people who eat meat go to visit indigenous people, you know, like in the past, the Europeans went to the US or went to South America and they met the indigenous people. They spread them diseases, and these indigenous people would die off. 70, 80, 90% of them would die off. They would die off because the diseases that were carried by the Westerners were zoonoses, I mean diseases that spread from animals, that came to humans because we live in this proximity of the animal, but not in a healthy manner. And these indigenous people eat very little meat, so they have no exposure to these animal viruses or bacteria. And when it gets them, it kills off. Measles, mumps, rubella, all these diseases, even these childhood diseases, were diseases of animals, not human diseases. But because of our interaction with them, it becomes a so-called human pathogen. So if we wanted to prevent the next pandemic, which we always say the big one is coming, it has actually got all, the answer is actually right there. We actually know the answer. Okay. This is the number of animals killed for food. 7 years ago, this was the latest statistics I can get. 66 billion chickens. The global population is about, 6.5, 7 billion people. 66 billion chickens were killed in 1 year. How many times over the human population to feed us? Look at the number of pigs and turkeys and cows that are killed. And incidentally, I have not included fish. Do you know how many aquatic or marine animals die for humans? 2.7 trillion. Fish, prawns, crabs. So some inconvenient truths. 3,000 animals die every second for human wants, which means within 2 weeks, the same number of animals are slaughtered as the entire global human population. We know, physiologically, we cannot deny that slaughtered and farmed animals feel immense terror and pain. It is their concentration camp. We also know that 90% of farm animals are killed in childhood because once they reach slaughter size, there is no economic incentive to allow them to live into adulthood. We also know there is no realistic or humane way to kill. Livestock farming is the single greatest contributor to global warming, deforestation, loss of biodiversity, and extinction on planet Earth. Livestock farming pumps more gases for global warming like CO2 and methane than every car, plane, train, or ship on Earth. There was a study that was commissioned by Oxford University about 5 years ago, and it gave this hypothetical question: what happened if the whole world went vegan? And they plowed it through their supercomputers to see what the answer would be. The answer would be, in 10 years, our CO2 levels will drop by 50%. 50% of the world's land mass is for farming. 50% of the world's land mass, that means more than the entire land mass of the United States and all of Europe combined, is used for farming. For farming, 80% of land is for animal farming. Only 20% of land is actually for grain or plant-based farming. And in terms of calorie needs of humans, only 20% of our calorie needs actually come from meat. 80% comes from plants. But for land use, it is the flip opposite. 80% is used for animals, and 20% is used for plants for humans. Most of the plants, soybean, barley, corn you see, 70 to 80% of them is not to feed humans. It is to feed cows, chickens, pigs, and now aquaculture, fish farming. And that's not even the natural food. Okay. So 2/3 of the world arable land is used to support animal farming. So think about it. If we stopped animal farming, 50% of the world would actually regenerate into forests and trees and lakes and places where we all can actually live together, and biodiversity will come back. Fisheries is the world's largest killer of aquatic life. Fishing nets floating in the sea, because when the net is damaged, it is not worth carrying this heavy 1-ton net back to shore to dispose it, because that's weight that you cannot keep the fish. They dump it overboard. And it is the #1 killer of dolphins in the world. Floating disposed fishing nets kills tens of thousands of dolphins every year. And like I shared with you in fishing, jobs in the animal industry and fishing are the lowest paid and most exploited among all humans on the planet. During COVID, what industry had the highest rate of death from COVID? The meat packing and slaughter industry, because their living conditions are so horrible, because they work in a very unhealthy environment, and because people wanted meat on their plate, they could not shut down even when there were outbreaks of COVID within the slaughterhouses. So they hold this sad distinction that they have the highest rate of death among any industry in the entire United States. And finally, poor diets, i.e. meat and processed foods, are the single biggest contributor to poor health and premature death on Earth. And this has been acknowledged by the World Health Organization. The #1 cause of premature death on planet Earth right now is an inappropriate diet. Now the good news, we can fix all of this. With a plant-based diet, we can be kind to Mother Earth. we can be kind to animals, and you can be kind to yourself, your own body. So what is my plant-based journey? I did not grow up vegetarian. How many people here are actually vegetarian? Okay, is that a few hands? Okay, well, maybe we can start again. How many people here would want to eat less meat, or have somewhere along the line, once in a while, say certain days I'm vegetarian or certain days I have less meat? So we have more hands. So at the end of this talk, maybe we'll have more. Okay, it starts with knowledge. So for myself, I used to believe, we are taught in medical school and all, balanced diet. To be honest, we were not really taught much about nutrition or health in medical school. That is not the focus. Medical school is to treat the sick and the fallen. It's not really about taking care of yourself. I think, if I'm not right, there was only one lecture on nutrition in my 5 years of studying in NUS. And because it doesn't come out in exam, I think I skipped it. Yeah, so I don't think. So I'm 55 years old now, and I've been eating a so-called balanced, healthy human diet for about 50 years. Okay? 5 years ago, someone randomly sent me, WhatsApp that says about, the cruelty of farming. And I don't know what got to me. It was one of those WhatsApp group kind of thing. And I said, let me open this up and look. Normally, I don't open these random videos that are sent to me. It was sent to me. I decided to look at it. And I opened it up. And I said, wow, that doesn't sound right. But, there's a lot of stuff that goes on the internet. So let me fact check this. So I went and fact checked it. And I said, my goodness, it actually is true. It is really like that. So I sat down that evening and I said, okay, 50 years I've been part of this system. Maybe I'll stop eating meat. Let's see what happens. So over the next week or two, I gradually stopped eating meat. First I took off the red meat, took off the processed meat, took off the chicken, went down, until essentially I was not eating any animal products. Okay, thinking this was just a kind thing to do. Maybe after 1 month, I'll start back and eat again and go back and forth, or be flexitarian or stuff like that. Okay, so I stopped. After 1 month, so I'm thankful I didn't have any major health issues. Okay, but I have a family history of hypertension, high cholesterol. I was, podgy, probably a bit. Okay, bigger. I was doing, we do shift work in hospital, and the work I do, so I've been doing shift work for literally 30 over years. So 2 a.m. I'll get phone call from either hospital or from somewhere saying, this patient has this, what do you do? And then I used to realize that, at night, very hard to fall asleep. After 2 a.m., somebody calls you and asks you, and then you check and you look and say, okay, give this medicine or do this, or this is what I'll do. Very hard to fall asleep again, So you tend to have, erratic sleep patterns, and then in hospital, wherever you work, we tend to have what we call supper, where we go off and you buy char kway teow, and typical life. And this is how most healthcare professionals would live. And then, so after 1 month, I realized small things hit me. Number one, I realized after somebody calls me at 2 o'clock in the morning and asks me something, when I put the phone down, within 1 to 2 minutes, I was asleep. And I started waking up in the morning before. So if I set my alarm for 6:30, about 6:25, I started waking up. And I never needed to press snooze again. And I felt very fresh. So first, I attributed this to the placebo effect. Or you feel good, you did something good, now you feel better. But inquisitive mind, I say, let me find out what is this all about. Because I was positively feeling better, So prior to that, I had just done some blood screening tests and everything, test your cholesterol levels, test, your risk of diabetes, inflammatory markers and everything, check my blood pressure, ECG, etc. I had done all this. So I said, okay, after about 2 months, let me repeat this test and compare. Because, the numbers can't lie. So I repeated these results. I had not done anything different. I exercised at the same way I normally exercise. I was doing the same work I did. The only thing that changed was what I ate. And I took these bloods. And the results were startling. My cholesterol levels had dropped about 20%. Just food, huh? I didn't do anything else. My cholesterol had dropped 20%. My blood pressure used to be borderline high because maybe stressful work, maybe what they call, we last time say, a family history, used to be 140/90. My blood pressure, and it still remains today, is now between 110 to 120 over 60 to 70. My resting heart rate from about 70 per minute dropped to about 50, 45 to 50 per minute. And one of the interesting tests I did was the inflammatory markers. It's a measure of inflammation or stress within your body. This test is called high sensitivity CRP. You can do it yourself. You can see your GP and ask them, can I do a HS-CRP level? We use this in ICU to test levels of inflammation in patients, but now this test is freely available at any GP or polyclinic. You can do it. It's called HS-CRP level. I took the HS-CRP level, and the lab called me. They say, are you sure you sent me sample or not? I say, why? The levels are undetectable. I mean, the levels of inflammation in the body go to what is known as at zero. The lab test result came back less than 0.01 undetectable. And that's when so I say it is very interesting. And then COVID sort of came along, right? And when COVID came along, very good. All these top universities in the world, suddenly everything come on Zoom. Before that, you have to fly to Cornell, attend course. Now suddenly everything is on Zoom. So I say, hey, I want to find out more about what's been happening to me. So I attended one of the schools, the world's top schools of plant-based nutrition. It's in Cornell University, Cornell School of Nutrition. And I found out that there is so much information on nutrition that us as healthcare professionals, don't know, because we are beholden to the pharmaceutical industry. We're beholden to a system. And it was eye-opening, and there are thousands of papers written, and books, and professors who have actually come to the same conclusions I have. I am not unique in this, And so I said, hey, I will now continue this journey. And I want to share this journey because this is within the ability of every one of us. This is not something that is magical. It's something that I can start. It's literally something that you can start right now. And when I thought about it, it's really, if it was about Buddhism, it's about the first precept, isn't it? Not to take away the lives of other sentient beings. And then I think, and I went a bit further. Then I said, what about milk and eggs? Because somebody asked me about that. Then I'm thinking, then that's the second precept. I don't steal, I don't take things without permission. That cow didn't give me permission to take his or her milk. That mother hen did not give me permission to take her egg. And it's about humility. Why are we thinking that we are a higher plane of existence than any other sentient being? Why don't we have the same rights? The same rights to avoid suffering, to avoid pain. Isn't that what metta is about? To wish, we say this, to wish peace and love to all sentient beings. Isn't it about, then I thought, isn't it about karuna, compassion? Isn't it about when an animal is free and happy, and we feel joy in that animal? That is upekkha and mudita. And finally, when we are at peace with ourselves, because we felt we have done what we can, your body rewards you, planet Earth rewards you, and the animals reward you. The other beautiful thing I learned in Cornell is that the human body always wants to heal itself. We do not want to remain in a sick state. So even if you have health challenges, when you start showing compassion to your body, when you start putting the right foods in your mouth, your body starts to heal. It's like a smoker who has smoked for 20 years. The human body is marvelous. When that smoker stops smoking, the lungs start to heal. It cannot heal as long as you are, smoking every single day. But the moment you start smoking, your lungs actually start to heal. And the risk of cancer for a smoker who has smoked for 20 or 30 years, after 10 years of not smoking, the risk of lung cancer becomes the same as a non-smoker because the body heals. So the beauty is that in all those illnesses that we spoke about, which is probably 80% of the reasons why people are lying in hospital beds, are potentially healable. But it has to start with yourself. So like I said, sometimes your doctor is not always right. Not because we don't want to heal you, but because we know no better. About 200 years ago, the standard treatment for a lot of medical illnesses was, they thought blood was dirty. So we have to drain your blood. This is 1700s. You drain your blood, and you take the blood of a dog and transfuse into a human. Needless to say, many, many people died. But that was what the highest standards of medical care was. If you go back 100 years, look at the center picture. This is cough syrup that was sold openly to give children with cough. Notice the contents: alcohol, cannabis, chloroform, and morphine. So if you see your doctor have a cough, this is what you'll get. In the 1950s, the biggest promoters of cigarettes were doctors. Because they say if you have a cough, you smoke, you kill the germs in your throat. So if you just go to YouTube video, such and such, doctors and cigarette advertisements, you'll find dozens of advertisements or videos of doctors claiming the benefits of cigarettes. Okay. So when your doctor says, hey, you need to have a balanced diet, you need some meat for your protein and everything, we are all able to think, do your homework. The WHO, the World Health Organization, has acknowledged this just 1 month ago, that red meat and processed meats are class 1 carcinogens. That means they are in the same classification as cigarettes are in terms of cancer-causing potential, which means it is undeniably cancer-causing. Okay? So when a child does a good job in school and then come back, does well in exam, come back, you say, hey, my son Tom, come, let's go. Very good, where you want to go? I want to go to fast food restaurant, have my whatever, have my hot dog or my burger, right? Then you say, good job, okay, Ken, you go. That's the same as your child coming back and saying, hey, I did a good job. Hey, good job, have a cigarette. Say, class 1 carcinogens. In fact, more people die in the world, in developed countries nowadays, from diseases caused by inappropriate food choices than they do from smoking. It has taken over. Because while the number of smokers in the world has started to drop because people realize the harms of smoking, we have yet to realize the harms of inappropriate food choices. When you look, another interesting thing I want to share with human is that we always talk, do you all remember like 20, 30 years ago, there's this thing called the Human Genome Project. About 30 years ago, the top university in the world say, okay, we're going to document, because first they document the genome of the fruit fly, okay? Then they say, okay, now we're going to document. So they spent 10 years documenting the human genome. They say because the DNA, the human genome, is your marker of who you are, right? What disease you have, how high, how tall you grow, what is your mind going to be like. Let's check the human. So they marked every gene in the human genome. So it was a collaboration between Oxford and Cambridge and, whatever, Cornell, and all the top universities would say, we're going to document the human genome. They spent 10 years on the Human Genomes Project, spent billions of dollars. And at the end of it all, they mapped the entire human genome. And then they started counting how many genes does a human have. You know what they found out? The human has 22,000 genes. The human has 22. To put it in perspective, the fruit fly had 19,000 genes. So how much different are we? And we did not find the solution to all the diseases of modern living in the genes. But what we found was that in a human, when you say a human is actually not really human. This is, I'm just going to try to explain so you understand. Inside your body are multiple bacteria, viruses, and fungi that live in close connection with us and that help to keep us alive. And this is known as your microbiome. And this is the hottest field of medical research in the world today, the microbiome. If you search out the word microbiome, you will find out that this is going to be the cure to all disease and this and that and great potential. The human is actually an ecosystem, just like Earth is an ecosystem, right? Earth consists of everything living together in harmony. Your body is an ecosystem. In fact, the human body consists of about 3 billion cells. And within our body, there are 20 billion bacteria, fungi, and viruses living in harmony with us. If we kill these bacteria, fungi, and viruses, we kill ourselves. They live in an intimate connection. They live in a symbiotic relationship. And 90% of these bacteria, fungi, and viruses that help keep us alive live in our intestines. And you look at the marvel of food. You know, food, when you take plant food, it contains fiber, right? Incidentally, meat has got 0 fiber. Meat, egg, everything, 0 fiber. It doesn't have, because it's found in the cell walls. Then when we take fiber, they tell you, hey, you never take enough fiber, you're going to get what? Constipation, right? You say, oh, fiber is bulk. Do you know it's much more ingenious than that? Do you know why your body doesn't absorb? First of all, fiber is actually just carbohydrate. It is sugars. But your body doesn't absorb it because the carbon chain is slightly different. By like 0.01%, it doesn't get absorbed. Fiber doesn't get absorbed. Your body cannot use it as food. Do you know why? It is because fiber is food for the bacteria in your intestines. That's what they eat. So by intelligent design or by evolution, when you eat plant-based food, you feed yourself and you feed these billions of bacteria in our intestines. And these billions of bacteria produce 3/4 of the hormones that you need. They produce 3/4 of the precursors for the neurotransmitters in the brain. They are what keep you alive. And that is why we say when people keep taking antibiotics, they get very ill, they get sick. And people who don't take enough fiber, they get sick. Because we kill this bacteria in our intestines. And incidentally, in our intestines are a type of microorganism that live in every human called archaea. Archaea is the oldest form of life on planet Earth. It exists before there were viruses and bacteria. And when you look in the human intestines, you will find archaea. Archaea are the microorganisms that live in the vents at the bottom of the ocean at 10 or 20,000 feet that feed on sulfur and everything. You know, they were the first forms of life on Earth, and they exist in us. And that links us back to the very first forms of life. And that is why it's so important to take care of your microbiome. It is so important. So when you eat plants, you feed your microbiome. And the microbiome are happy. And they in turn say, oh, body, do you want some dopamine? Let's make it for you. Do you want to bring your blood pressure down? Okay, we'll do it for you. Okay? 80% of your immune system, when it's at rest, resides on the walls of your intestine. The training for your immune system, how to react to infection, occurs in the walls of your intestine. A study in Italy, actually I've gone beyond my time. Is it okay? It's okay. A study in Italy published in 2022 was of 100 over 1,000. Italy was hit very bad by COVID at the start of COVID. Do you all remember? Because no vaccine, the first European country to get it was Italy. And Italy had tens of thousands of deaths from COVID. And at the end of, so-called towards the end, when the vaccines first came out, the Italians decided to do a massive study of what triggered so many deaths in their country. And this study was published in the British Medical Journal. And what they found out was that the one clear association between how to protect yourself from COVID was directly related to how much plants you ate. A person who took 90% plants, because Italy has a very diverse diet, the Mediterranean diet, a very healthy diets, and then diets with a lot of cheese and ham in the northern parts of Italy, so they got a very diverse diet. The death rates from COVID were 10 times higher in the cities, which ate cheese and ham and took a lot of milk, compared to those which take a Mediterranean-type diet, which was very strong in basically plants. Yes, they took some meat and fish and all, but predominantly plants and grains and pasta and all. And this was published in a British medical journal. And plant-based diets decrease your chance of dying from COVID by between about 80 to 90%, which is as good as the vaccines. And the vaccines were not out yet. And you think, if we had brought this information to the forefront and told people, change your diet, save yourself, how many lives would we have saved while waiting for that vaccine? But because there is no money, you cannot patent your orange or your kailan or your cauliflowers. This message, despite being acknowledged and published in the top medical journals in the world, never went out to the general public. Instead, we decided, oh, work from home, let's buy Grab food, let's try this junk food, that junk food. You know what I mean? Because we didn't know better. So it was a marvelous opportunity to actually share this knowledge. But unfortunately, you know, capitalism and consumerism probably got the better of us, or got better of the powers that be. Yeah? The microbiome, the food, and your brain. Do you know where is the biggest nerve in the entire human body? It is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve directly connects your brain with your intestines. There are more nerve connections around your intestines than any other organ in the body other than the brain. And that is why when you feel nervous and anxious, like today before I start my talk, I feel butterflies in my tummy. Because that's my tummy talking to me, that's my microbiome talking to the nerves and telling them, hey, patients which have, it's a very interesting thought, patients which have depression, if you notice, or anxiety, what happens? They tend to seek comfort food. Is comfort food healthy food? No, it's a vicious cycle. 3/4 of all the chemicals that your brain uses, all the feel-good chemicals, the serotonin, the dopamine, the noradrenaline and all these chemicals, your brain doesn't make them. The body is smart, it's an ecosystem. The brain relies upon the precursors to be made by your intestinal bacteria, which then send it across the wall into the vagus nerve and to the brain. It's a two-way channel. And it is shown that if you change the diet of an individual with depression on double-blind trials, you will get the same results as antidepressants. Okay? The common question I get asked is, so what about protein? Where are you going to get protein from? You're taking plants, no protein, right? That's the myth, right? Then I tell them, the longest living animals on earth are vegan. The strongest animals on earth are vegan. The largest animals on land are vegan. Okay? Where do they get their protein from? The grass, right? The fruits, right? Your protein comes from amino acids. Amino acids are made by the plants. The animal eats the plants. You eat the animal, it's second-hand protein. So go to source. Eat the real stuff. So it is a complete myth. There is no need for you to worry. 90% of us eat too much protein. Too much, not too little. Okay? Protein powders, protein supplements, they're linked to increased inflammatory markers. Don't take them. Unless there's a specific medical reason for it. So comparing nutritional value, meat food, processed food is junk food. Whatever comes in a plastic bag, whatever is on the shelves at the supermarket can keep for about 6 months to 1 year. Okay? Biscuits, crackers. So I'm just going to add this in, processed food. Okay, so processed food may be plant-based, may be animal-based, but equally unhealthy. Nutritional value, meat, processed food, low. Plant food, high. Antioxidants, 0 antioxidants in meat, 0 antioxidants in processed food. only found in plant food. They're called your phytonutrients. They're what protects your body from aging, protects your body from cancer, protects your body from infections. Okay? Fiber, meat is 0. Okay? Processed food, low. Only found in plant foods. Any plant. Cholesterol, high in meat, maybe high or maybe 0 in processed food, whether it's plant-based or this one. Okay, potato chips, for example, they always put outside 0 cholesterol. So happy, right? 0 cholesterol, of course, because it's potato chips. Cholesterol is only found in animals. And what's the most concentrated source of cholesterol on earth? What food? Eggs and cheese. Okay? Eggs and cheese are the most concentrated source of cholesterol on earth. Okay? Fats, especially saturated fats. Okay? Meat, medium to high. Processed food, high. Okay? Processed palm oil and everything, very high in saturated fats, which are just as bad as cholesterol. Okay? And low in plant food. Okay? Sugars, meat has got 0. You can say, yay, I take sugar. No, sugar is 0, okay? Processed food is high, and plant food is actually low. So when plant food is sweet, it contains complex carbohydrate, not simple sugars. When you eat an apple, if you have diabetes and you eat an apple, you won't get a spike in sugar levels, no matter how sweet that apple is. But if you process that apple and made apple juice, and you drank the apple juice, your sugar levels will shoot up because it became a processed food. Okay? Caloric density, which is how many calories there are in food. And when you take calorie-dense food, you tend to gain weight because, a lot of calories come in. Meat is high calorie density. Processed food is high calorie density. Plants are low caloric density because most plants consist of a lot of water. So when you want to lose weight, plants are your best friend because they contain fiber and water. And with that, you will lose weight. Okay? Incidentally, my weight used to be 78 kilos. I am now 63 kilos. I have never dieted. The moment I started going on a plant-based diet, I lost 2 to 3 kilograms every month consistently, and I will eat until I'm full. I eat a mountain of rice. People look at me and say, wow, you eat so much, and somebody don't finish, give me, I'll eat up. Your body, once again, wants to heal. You will know what is your appropriate BMI. Your body knows what's your appropriate BMI. Sometimes you see mother, father, plump, then kids also plump. They say, oh, runs in the genes. Go back and look at the grandparents. Do you think the grandparents were plump? No, it is environment which determines this. We all want to move towards a state of health. That is the natural human state. So move towards a state of health, you have to eat right. That is the thing that, unfortunately, we have not yet grasped. If you eat right, your body knows what weight to be. Your body knows what is your best blood pressure. Your body knows what is your best blood sugar. Your body knows that you don't want to lie sick in bed. But in order to heal, you have to give it the right fuel. You have to give your body a chance. So if you're still confused, then you ask, hey, so what should I eat? You tell me eat plant, what do I do? Do I eat kangkong for the rest of my life? What do I do? Yes, of course we eat kangkong for the rest, but that's just one of the foods, okay? So first of all, there's this thing called a healthy vegan plate that says that you should eat 4 main classes of food every day or every week, whatever it is. You should take fruits. And the good thing about this healthy plate is, notice, there is no limit. You can eat until you are full. I say again, you can eat until you're full. You do not have to say, oh, I'm eating too much of I'm eating too much mango, I must pull back. No. So you take fruits, you take grains. Grains means your carbohydrates, okay? Humans are known as what are called, actually, the fuel we burn is carb. So when somebody tells you, incidentally, just diverting a bit, when somebody tells you, hey, go on a low-carb diet and you'll lose weight and it's good for you. Low-carb diets, low carb means either high protein or if it's keto, then it's high fat. Low carb diets are linked, and this is just published just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's just been published that are linked to an increase in all-cause mortality. In hundreds of thousands, all-cause mortality means death from any cause. Why do you want to be healthy? So that we don't die, right? That's the most important thing, correct? Not you look at yourself in the mirror, hey, I feel good, okay? If you just want to lose weight, hey, it's very easy to lose weight. Just get cancer, you'll lose weight. You get stage 4 cancer, I guarantee you'll lose weight. I give you cocaine every day. you will lose weight, correct? Every day take cocaine, you lose weight. So your aim is not to lose weight. Actually, your aim is to be healthy. The problem with a low-carb diet is it aims weight loss at the expense of health. Okay, so from a medical professional point of view, and from all the data that's been collected, be very careful on any diet that is low-carb or keto. They are not associated with improved life expectancy. They are just associated with weight loss. Okay? So take your carbs, but make sure when you take your carbs, they are complex carbs, not simple carbs. Don't go back to the message, oh, now I can drink all the Coke I want because it's sugars, it's carbs. You want to take complex carbs. Complex carbs mean whole food, brown rice, whole grain pasta, potatoes. Go ahead and take all the potatoes you want. It's lovely food. Tapioca, yam, sweet potatoes. You can take as much as you like until you're full, okay? Take vegetables, green vegetables, purple vegetables. Take as much as you like. And then legumes. Legumes are beans. Beans are the most abundant sources of protein on planet Earth. Okay? Legumes means chickpeas, soya beans, peanuts, anything that comes in a pot with seeds is a bean. So if you open your eyes, hey, beans, French beans, long beans, they're everywhere. And they are a wonderful source of complete protein with zero cholesterol and high fiber and multiple antioxidants. So if you just eat this way and eat as much as you want, you will start seeing your health improve, I promise you. So the idea is to eat mostly, or if possible, always plants. Number 2, eat real food. Don't say, hey, dogs are going to eat vegetables. Then I find this pill that says, supplement, they tell you, the same as eating 50 vegetables, pop one pill, sell in a sachet, maxi water, stir, cost you $5. Oh, I take this one, I don't need to go and get vegetables. It is not the same. Everybody will want to, you can't market a vegetable, you can't upsell kailan, you can't upsell kangkong, you can upsell a tablet 1,000 times. So there is no replacement for real food. Okay, very clear, there is no replacement for real food. Okay, remember to go for food that is nutrient dense, not calorie dense. All processed food is calorie dense because it creates addiction. Calorie dense means every gram or every cubic centimeter, how much calories inside, versus, as an example, one hot dog maybe contains 400 calories. You eat one hot dog, are you full? No, you say, hey, just one hot dog, it's just like an appetizer or something. But to get that same number of calories, if you ate cauliflower or broccoli, you need to take 1 kilogram. So if you want to fill your tummy, what do you eat? Broccoli or cauliflower, right? So plants are very calorie light. Animal food and processed food is calorie dense. But the beauty of plants is they are nutrient dense. And the key word is this, nutrient dense. In one leaf, go back to the kangkong, one kangkong leaf, there are about 10,000 phytonutrients, 10,000 chemicals in that one leaf. And there's also a microbiome on that leaf. There are bacteria that our body needs on that leaf. And there's fiber. And all of that is on that one little leaf. So when somebody says, oh, don't need to take the oranges, or this pill is the same as the vitamin C of 50 oranges. Then you take vitamin C, I don't need to take 50, I don't need to take my orange. Wrong, because in that orange is 10,000 different chemicals, of which medically or scientifically, we have probably documented only about 1,000 of them. We have 19,000 more to go that we don't even know about. And we know they all have a role to play in the ecosystem that is our body. So take real food. And remember, like I said earlier, the magic of fiber. Fiber feeds your gut microbiome. Another fun fact I'll teach you. Do you know that human breast milk contains fiber? It is so well designed. That is why cow's milk has got fiber too, but it's fiber for baby cow. Human breast milk has got fiber. 15% of human breast milk, the carbohydrate of human breast milk is fiber. So it is not, this human breast milk fiber is not to feed you, it's to feed the bacteria in your intestines from the moment you are born. How intelligent is that? Human breast milk has got fiber. Okay? So these are the 4 food groups I spoke about. The final thing I'll say is take variety. Don't restrict yourself to one. You now have the whole, last time people say, hey, you only eat vegetable, very little to take, no choice. Then I say, okay, I bring you to the supermarket, open your eyes. You got chicken, okay, you got chicken, maybe you got breast, you got thigh, you got black chicken, you got kampong chicken, 4 different types. I show you greens. You have 20 different types of greens. You have so much variety in the plant world compared to the animal world. And each plant has a different taste, a different texture, a different feel, a different way to cook. What is meat? Meat is whatever flavoring you put on top. Meat itself, not much taste. So take as much variety as you want. What I aim to do is I aim to take 50 different types of fruit and vegetable every week. And it's actually very easy to achieve. Think about it. Go back and you count. It's very easy to achieve. Fruits, chili, whatever, turmeric, pepper, all these are plant foods. Take as much variety because each plant has a unique characteristic that will help you. Traditional people take on average about 100 to 200 different types of fruit and vegetable every week. Their diets are very varied. The diets of people who live in the forest and who live off the land are actually way more varied than human diets that of people living in cities. So aim for at least 50 different types. Take variety. Don't take the same thing. Don't say, oh, my diet has to be sweet potato, kangkong, and apple every day. No. You want to take as much variety, enjoy your food, love it. This is about a lifestyle modification that you carry with you for the rest of your life. So another way to look at calories, like I said earlier, if you just take oil or cheese or meat, that's how much the stomach is filled. If you took fruits and vegetables, you could fill the same 500 calories completely and say, oh, I am full, I can't eat anymore. And that is why I say I lost weight and I ate as much as I wanted. And I snacked as much as I wanted, but I only snack on fruit and veggie. I love bananas. I eat 8 to 10 bananas every day. Okay. I love nangka. I love durian. There's a study done in SGH on durian and diabetes. You know, they study all diabetes. You cannot take durian. So SGH, the study hasn't been published yet, but it'll soon be published. And the results have shown that if you have diabetes and you take, this study is very popular in SGH because what happened was that they wanted volunteers, say, oh, who got diabetes? And we want to test, we wanted to test to see what happens if you eat durian. So this study was done last year. So it was done by the endocrine department and the National Cancer Center. So they asked for volunteers. So nobody will ask for volunteers for studies, must take blood, must this, that, or nobody want to volunteer. This one, they say, this study means that you got diabetes, you join the study group, every day, twice a day, we feed you the Maosangwan durian, and we supply you. They got overwhelming response, and all the study participants come and say, can I enroll my family also? Okay. Anyway, the results showed that if you are predominantly plant-based and you eat durian every day, your sugar levels will come down. Because durian is a plant. It's sweet, but it's a plant. So once again, there's a lot of urban myths. You know? Okay, so eat variety, enjoy your food, love what you're eating. Because what you are doing is good for yourself, it's good for the animals, and it's good for the planet. Hippocrates, which is the father of modern medicine, when we graduate from university, we say this oath. Hippocrates got it right. This was in the year, I think this was 2,000 years ago, was written, or 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. Let food be thy medicine, and thy medicine food. Okay? You know, who is engineer? You know Pythagoras, Pythagoras theorem? So Pythagoras was, I think, Greek. He lived in 200 BC. Pythagoras was vegetarian. And he said, as long as man continues the ruthless destruction of lower living things, he will never know health or peace. For as long as men massacre animals, they will kill each other. Indeed, he who sows the seed of murder and pain cannot reap love or joy. One person can make a difference to those around them. And slowly, these people can make a difference to the people around them. And the best way to make a change is to start within yourself. Change yourself first, because that is the one thing you have control over. And you are unique. You are the only you in the entire universe. So start that change from within yourself. Albert Einstein was also vegetarian, and he said, nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances of survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution of a vegetarian diet. So once again, our mantra, less pain, more love. When you eat, are you going to eat pain or are you going to eat love? So maybe even if you don't change, I have planted a seed of knowledge in you. So when you eat, maybe you say, I'll still eat meat, but this time I will be a mindful meaty. I will know where this meat comes from. And in the years to come, maybe one day I will change. Maybe I'll choose once a week, I won't take, or this meatless friendly. Every little bit that you decrease will improve your health, will make planet Earth a better place, and you will, an animal will thank you for it. So every little bit counts. Okay? And with that, I think I've gone a bit beyond. I'm so sorry if I took your time. I'm open to questions. I'll answer the question about, I haven't forgot the question about calcium and milk. And I'll give you a very quick answer. We do global studies on fractures. They say milk, calcium associated with fracture. What countries in the world have the highest rate of osteoporotic fracture, fracture due to low calcium in the bones? The societies which take the most amount of milk. Australia, New Zealand, Canada have the world's highest rates of osteoporotic fractures. What societies in the world hardly take milk because they have lactose intolerance, they don't take milk? Asians, generally Japan and Korea. They hardly take milk, okay? Until modern times. Last time they don't take milk, they take soy, right? They have the world's lowest rate of osteoporotic fracture. So there is a difference between the content of calcium and what is called the bioavailability of calcium. So the bioavailability of calcium in cow's milk is only about 40%. The bioavailability of calcium in a bean, like a long bean, is about 70%. So a long bean has half the amount of calcium that milk has, but has a 70% bioavailability, which means that you actually absorb more calcium from beans than you do from milk. Okay? The other problem with milk, I mean, there's a lot of problems with milk, and I can go on and we can spend hours, but milk is actually linked to an increased rate of chronic disease. All milk contains hormone remnants because cows have hormones, growth hormones, because the milk is to make a baby cow become a big cow. That's why no other animal drink milk. You don't see baby dog or baby pig, oh, mother got brother, sister, can I take some milk? I'm an adult, but I don't mind sharing some milk. Doesn't happen. The only adults in the animal world which drink milk are humans. And the reason is that it's not natural for us to drink milk, because milk contains growth. Milk is meant for growth. If you're an adult, how much more you want to grow other than diagonally? You don't want to grow. But the danger of milk is that these growth factors, if you have an underlying small little tumor in your body, these growth factors promote growth. And that is why the American Cancer Society and everything, breast cancer, have statements that say very clearly, it is probably true that milk consumption and dairy products, I mean milk, cheese, butter, is linked to an increased risk of hormone-sensitive cancers, which means prostate cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, etc. Because they are growth-related cancers. And the best, and if you have someone with prostate cancer like that, the best thing to do is actually cut off milk, dairy, increase your intake of soybeans. Because soybean contain phytoestrogen. Phytoestrogens are cancer protective. Okay, breast cancer survivors. My mom is a breast cancer survivor. She's now 80 years old. She had breast cancer about 10, 11 years ago. So she also turned and became on plant-based diet. And she's now 80 years old. She walks 5 to 10 kilometers every day. She's a volunteer at the hospice. And her oncologist called me years ago. Charles, what supplement you give your mother? I've never seen such a healthy breast cancer survivor. And then I just told her, it's food. And then the oncologist said, oh, that one very tough. I love my meat too much. I can't do that. But you start changing, and you start feeling better. And you realize that we don't live to eat. We don't live to eat. We eat to live. And it's all worth it when you start to feel the benefits. from inside and outside. Yes? Yes. Yeah.
How many nutrition that you need from food, and then you classify according how many broccoli I need to eat, how many?
No, I don't
Sorry.
like. I
Then
don't.
how do we know that if we eat 50 different plants, right? How do we know that we have enough nutrition? Because, for example, I read online article.
Yes.
So vegan it's common for vegan to be lacking in omega, iodine, zinc, or like all these things, right?
Okay.
So I think there's a fear in me, like
Okay.
to be 100% vegan because of I'm afraid of not enough nutrition.
Okay. So first of all, your body keeps the tab. You don't have to keep tabs. Your body knows what you need. For example, if you take too much calcium and it is plant source, your body clears it in the urine, if it's plant source. If it is animal source calcium, or you take calcium supplements, it is important to know you take calcium supplements when you don't need it, it clogs your arteries. So calcium supplements are not recommended unless you have a definite documented calcium deficiency. Otherwise, taking calcium supplements to prevent, or fracture in the future is linked to an increased risk of stroke and heart attack. Because your body wants to take food in its natural form, not in the form of supplements. Your body keeps tab. If you have too much calcium, the body says, okay, clear some out. If the body says not enough, the body reabsorbs it from the urine and holds it back. So you don't have to keep tab if you eat a whole food, plant-based, varied diet. Everything is there. Now the thing about iodine, the common one is B12, vitamin D3, etc. I say, hey, but vegan, they say don't have B12 and everything. The reason is that, okay, vitamin B12 is a very, very critical vitamin. If you don't have it, you die. Your immune system screws up, your brain screws up, you die. It's a very critical vitamin. All animals need vitamin B12. Where is vitamin B12 found? Vitamin B12 is not found in mushrooms though. Vitamin B12 is actually made by a soil bacteria. Okay? One type of family of soil bacteria make mushrooms. All land-based animals walk around in the soil, right? So they used to just get B12 from the soil. Soil is soil bacteria. So when animal meat, they say, oh, B12 you take from animal meat. It is not from the animal meat. It's because the animal has been walking around in the soil and gets the B12. And now in factory farming, the animals are not walking about in the soil. So all the animals, all your pigs, your cows, your chickens are given B12 supplements. So once again, you take second-hand B12 from the animal to go in, you might as well take it yourself. The other way you can do is you can go and run around in the soil and put some salt in your mouth, you'll get B12. Because the reality is, last time how you take food, you dig it out from the ground, you don't wash with vinegar and scrape and peel, you eat, right? But so you can either go out and forage in the soil and eat that stuff, or you can take a B12 supplement. I'll settle for the B12 supplement now. Okay? But that's why they say, oh, vegan, no B12. Because the non-vegans are getting B12 from the animals that they eat, which have been supplemented. You're just getting the supplement from there. So they're taking the same supplements. And the same goes with iodine, the same goes with everything. The only supplements a vegan needs on a healthy diet is vitamin B12 and, in fact, only vitamin B12. The rest, you can depend on what you read, whether you need more omega-3. Omega-3 is basically the same thing. Omega-3, they talk about the fish oil omega-3, right? Do fish make omega-3? No, the omega-3 is made by the algae in the sea. And the fish eat the algae, and the omega-3 is deposited in the fish. And the problem with taking fish-based omega-3 is you also get microplastics and mercury and heavy metals. So where is the best place to get omega-3 if you want to take omega-3 supplements? You take from algae-based source. Say they sell algae-based omega-3 supplements. They're a bit more expensive, but they're actually where it comes from. So the fish just eat the algae. So it's actually all from plants. It is not from the animal, but the animal is a repository for it, and we then take it from the animal. Okay? And omega-3, incidentally, is also found in a lot of seeds. Because it's part of growth for seeds. So chia seeds, flax seeds, etc., they're also filled with omega-3. So if you're taking chia seeds and flax seeds and all, you don't need an omega-3 supplement. If you wanted to take, it's fine, but just make sure the source is actually from marine animals, marine plants, algae source. Don't take it from fish, because fish Omega-3 is from the liver. The liver is the detoxification center of the fish, and the fish are the most, and the oceans are the most polluted places on earth. Very sad, but true. Okay, so you don't have to count. Your body knows what to do. If you take a varied whole food plant-based diet, I guarantee you there is no additional supplements you need other than your B12. Or you can go to the soil thing and do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Charles.
Okay.
I think for the interest of time, because there's a yummy vegetarian food outside.
Okay.
So maybe we have just one last question and one quick answer.
What about beans? Too much beans will cause uric acid.
Okay. Okay, uric acid, beans, and gout. Very interesting question. If you go to the Singapore General Hospital website, they will now tell you, please take more beans if you have gout. It is 100% not true that beans are related to uric acid. Beans contain purine, but the type of purine that is broken down product, your body recognizes, it doesn't go to your joints. In fact, in Taiwan and in China, the treatment for gout in the hospitals is to give the patients soya beans because it decreases your incidence of gout. And this has been all published papers and everything. Uric acid causing gout only exists if you take meat, dairy, and eggs. You cannot get gout if you're 100% vegan. It doesn't happen. You don't have it. Because uric acid is a breakdown product of animal only. So beans don't cause gout. So that is, once again, something like the milk and calcium kind of thing. It's what we thought. And I was trained that way too, and I used to advise my patients the same, oh, you got gout, don't take soya bean, don't take ketchup, everything. No, the idea is just tell them, don't take meat, the gout will go away. You don't have gout among vegans. Okay.
And then, Dr. Charles, our sister Eileen's favorite question, is chocolate a vegetable?
Yes, so cocoa butter is a vegetable, but the dairy inside may not be. But there is an increasing movement to have more and more vegan chocolate. I like chocolate, so I'm very happy. I was in Spain 2 weeks ago doing some work. And I was in Madrid, and I was surprised. So I went, Madrid is the center of veganism for Spain. And half the rows of chocolate, and Spanish people like to eat chocolate, half the rows of chocolate in their supermarket is all vegan chocolate. So yes, the chocolate itself is vegan, it's from the chocolate bean, but people add milk inside. Yeah, so just look at your sauce. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So if anybody else has any questions, do approach Charles. I'm sure Charles is very nice, he doesn't mind one. Okay, so can we say sadhu 3 times for a fantastic talk? Thank you.